Good evening. It is time for the Iman Report. It is Saturday night, December the 12th, and we had we saved the best pay-per-view for last this year as we had a very exciting fight between Brandon Moreno and Davison Figueiredo. This fight went to a majority draw. Two judges had it 47-47. The other had it 47-46 for Figueiredo. This was a very good fight. The only reason that Figueiredo did not get the actual win was the fact that he got a point taken away in the third round for kicking for a low blow. That could be fairly controversial too. Some people did not like the call by Jason Herzog. Those people have the right to their opinion. If realistically, if that fight couldn't have gone, there was talks that fight couldn't have gone any further beyond that, and if that were to happen, that could have ended up being a disqualification. So, yeah, I can go either way on this on taking a point, but luckily Moreno was able to recover and the fight was able to keep going. So I'm happy that the fight was able to keep going. So that's good enough for me. Whether or not the point should have been taken or not, that's debatable. We'll leave that to debate. No side is wrong on this. But this was an epic fight. I enjoyed every round. This was a very close fight. And you know what? We need to see a rematch sometime in 2021 between these two. This definitely deserves a rematch. It's going to get a lot more eyes on pay-per-view. And hopefully by then, we could have fans in the seats. Let's get to that. 257, we've got Conor McGregor going up in a rematch against Dustin Poirier. There is talk that could be the first UFC fight to have fans in the seats. And then the rest of the champions, believe it or not, are not booked at this time. So there's a real possibility you're not going to see a whole lot of fights maybe early in 2021 until we get the logistics of getting fans back in the arena. Yeah, the vaccines are coming. And I know the UFC has lost a lot of money this year by not having the gate attendance. I know Dana White is very hungry to get fans back in the seats in 2021 as soon as possible, and the vaccine's going to make it quicker. So we could see a lot of championship fights maybe on the shelf during the months of January, February, and maybe March until we can reach a point where we could have fans in the seats. You could also see a lot more fights in America, in Florida and Texas during the early months where fans are being allowed in the arenas. So a lot to discuss about that. We'll talk more on that next week when we get into what is to come in 2021. But I have a feeling why a lot of the title fighters are not getting booked is the fact that the UFC wants fans. And due to the lack of that gate attendance is why I think Dana White is looking to trim some fat off the roster. So that's kind of where those two are. But as these two fighters rematch, we've got to see this fight again. Run it back with fans in the seats. It'll sell. I think it'll sell a lot more pay-per-views. It might be the highest selling pay-per-view for a flyweight card. The biggest loser out of this is going to be Cody Garbrandt. He might be SOL, and he might be forced to take another fight now just due to the fact that Moreno and Figueiredo are so banged up that they're going to be getting lengthy medical suspensions before they're going to be able to rematch each other, which I think will happen sometime in late spring or early September 2020, late spring, early summer 2021. But we got to see a rematch on this before Figueiredo does finally make the jump to 135. at 135. We are probably sometime in early 2021. We will see the fight that was originally supposed to happen on this fight card between Peter Yan and Aljamain Sterling happen. Hopefully, we'll see that sometime in early 2021. That should be a very exciting fight. But as for the rest as I said, the biggest loser tonight is Cody Garbrandt. He's pretty much dicked out of a title shot at this time. Now on to the co-main event. Charles Oliveira destroys Tony Ferguson 30-26, all three judges. I was even a bit harsher. I said 30-24. I certainly think Oliveira had a 10-8 in all three rounds in this fight. And this is the Charles Oliveira we always thought we could see at 155. Welcome to the top 5, Charles Oliveira. You're in. And Oliveira now could be one win away from a title shot at the 155 belt. Oliveira has looked like a much better fighter since returning to 155. And now DeBronx has won. Yeah, he has won 8 fights in a row and is knocking on the door of a title shot at 155. He has not lost since returning to lightweight, and he's looked a lot. Oh, he's lost once to Paul Felder. My bad on that. But after Paul Felder, he's just been on a tear. Ferguson is the best win I've ever seen out of Charles Oliveira. And who knows if Khabib's going to come back or not at 155. You are going to have Poirier versus McGregor next month. That could be a real possibility. The winner of that fight could be a real possibility for Charles Oliveira. Another real possibility for Charles Oliveira is maybe he welcomes Michael Chandler to the UFC. That would be an exciting fight. That could get a lot more eyes on Charles Oliveira. That would get him near a title shot. He could also fight Justin Gaethje. That would be a very exciting fight. But Oliveira is now going to climb into the top 5. And as for Tony Ferguson, this was a very demoralizing loss for Ferguson. Ferguson, a guy who we thought would be challenging for the belt. Now that chase to the belt just got a lot further for Tony Ferguson. He's lost to Gaethje, he's lost to Oliveira, and those fights were not even close. His best win in his career is against Rafael dos Anjos. Other than that, he's beaten Pettis. But he's never truly beaten a lot of the top 5s in the UFC. So, yeah, I do think he is a bit of a fraud. Ferguson is going to have to work his way back. Maybe after some time off, you maybe put, I think a good opponent for Tony Ferguson after this loss could be Paul Felder. Ferguson versus Felder could be 2 fighters that are going in the wrong direction. We'll see which one but I think Ferguson versus Felder, this would be a good headliner fight on a fight night card with 2 fighters that are going the wrong direction, and the winner gets back on track, the other continues its slipping. But I think it's time for these 2 to meet in the UFC. I think Felder versus Ferguson, that would be fireworks right there. In the fight before that, Mackenzie Dern beats Verna Jandiroba via unanimous decision. All 3 judges had it 29-28. I had it for Jandiroba. This fight could have gone either way. This was a very fun fight. But Dern has shown she belongs in the top 10 at 115. And Dern could be knocking on the door of getting a top fighter after this win. What could be next for her could be maybe Amanda Hebus could be what's next. Okay, the winner of Rodriguez and Hebus is what should be next for Mackenzie Dern. Hebus is ranked just a little bit above Dern, so that makes a lot of sense. As for Jandi Roba, I think a fight between her and Angela Hill is what should be next. This was not a bad loss for Jandi Roba. I felt like it was a bit of a robbery. In the fight before that, Kevin Holland, the 5-0 Kevin Holland gets it done, knocks out, and possibly retires Jacare Souza in the first round with 145. Kevin Holland has become a much improved fighter in this past year, going 5-0 in the year 2020, could be up for Fighter of the Year. This win will likely get Kevin Holland a number next to his name on Monday. It also sets him up for a fight against a ranked opponent at 185. Oh, Holland's actually ranked 15 as of today, so that he's already ranked. But I think a fight for him next is maybe a fight with Ian Heinisch. I think him and Heinisch, that would be a very fun fight. These are two fighters that definitely like to spar. So I would like to see how Ian Heinisch, and that would be a very fun fight between Kevin Holland and Ian Heinisch sometime in early 2021. But this time it's time for Kevin Holland. He likes to take a fight anytime, any place, anywhere. Give him a little bit of a break, but I'm looking forward to seeing how Kevin Holland grows going into 2021. He is definitely a guy who is starting to look like a bona fide contender at 185. As for Jacare, this has to be the end of Jacare Souza in the UFC at this point. I hope he retires. That was just a very sad and depressing loss. That was downright bad. He lost to Blachowicz, which was not a bad loss. Hermanson. He's 1-4 with his only win against Chris Weidman back in 2018. And he's not really looked that great. I feel like tonight was the night. After that loss, I really think for Jacare, his best step is retirement. I really don't want to see him fight anymore. Retire, or I probably imagine the UFC has to start. With the UFC planning to cut more fighters, Dana White, I suggest you cut Jacare Souza if he does not retire. In the fight before that, Ciryl Gane beats Junior Dos Santos via TKO in the first round. Cyril Gagne or Gone, now 7-0 and is a contender, taking out Junior Cigano dos Santos in the second round with a TKO with the elbows. This will guarantee him another top 10 fight, and Cyril should be in the top 10 come Monday. This could be another guy who I can hope we see get in the octagon more often in 2021. But he is definitely a guy to watch at heavyweight in the year 2021. But it's all uphill for him after this. And I think what should be next for Cyril is a fight. The winner of Volkov and Overeem is what should be next for Cyril. I think that win will get Gagne, could determine if Gagne is a top 5 fighter or not. As for Junior Dos Santos, this is another guy I think is approaching retirement at this point. He's lost 4 in a row. He's lost to Ngannou, Blades, Rosenstruck, and now Cyril. And this was not a good loss either. I think for Cigano, I kind of think retirement. I kind of think the retirement is what is on the horizon for Junior Dos Santos. I really have no interest in seeing him continue his career in the UFC at this point. Yeah, Dos Santos 36. And he's just a regressing fighter. He's another candidate that could be in line to be cut after that fight. But yeah, I think for Gagne, bigger and better things are coming for him. For Dos Santos, it could be unemployment. Now on to the prelim cards. Cub Swanson beats Daniel Pineda via knockout in the second round. Cub Swanson showing he's not quite done yet in the UFC. Swanson showing he is still a serviceable gatekeeper at 145. He definitely will not fight for a title shot anytime soon, but he's still got a little bit left in the tank. I think the winner of Shane Burgos and Hakeem Dawodu is what should be next for Cub Swanson. No, he's lost to Shane Burgos. I'll strike that. No Shane Burgos, but Hakeem Dawodu, if he wins, that's what should be next. Or another up-and-comer like Grant Dawson. So, yeah, that's pretty much what Cub Swanson's role is going to be from here on out, is a gatekeeper to the top 15. As for Daniel Pineda, he is what he is. He gets a win, he gets a loss. He's not going to get cut, but this is just not a good... But it shows he is what he is. The loser of Leron Murphy and Douglas Andrade is what should be next for Pineda. In the fight before that, Rafael Fiziev climbing up the lightweight ladder as he knocks out Renato Moicano via knockout in the first round. Fiziev starting to climb the ladder at 155. He could be a prospect to watch in 2021. And Fiziev definitely will get a jump in competition after this win. Fiziev currently ranked 26. I say a fight between him and Vince Pichel. Vince Pichel is what should be next. That would be a very fun fight. As for Renato Moicano, what should be next for Moicano? David Tamer. I think I'll go with. Yeah, David Tamer is what should be next. I'll go with that. In the fight before that, Gavin Tucker beats Billy Quarantillo via unanimous decision. Gavin Tucker starting to make a climb at 145. Tucker is definitely looking like a bright prospect at the featherweight division. What should be next for Tucker? Ilya Tupuria is who I think should be next between Tucker, should be next for Gavin Tucker. That would be a very fun fight. As for what should be next for Billy Quarantillo, Quarantillo is still a bright prospect. Finally hits a speed bump at 145. Tucker is starting to look like a guy who's firing on all cylinders. Quarantillo ranked 40th. I say give him Herbert Burns. That's what should be next. And in the first fight on the prelim card, Tecia Torres beats Sam Hughes via doctor stoppage in the first round. What should be next for Torres? Maybe you just rebook her with. You could rebook her against Angela Hill. That is a possibility. Or you could book her against Mackenzie Dern, who won earlier tonight. You could do a little lazy matchmaking. As for Sam Hughes, you just give her a debutante. And the first fight of the night on the early prelim, Chase Hooper beats Peter Barrett via heel hook submission. What is next for Chase Hooper? Who gets back on track? Hooper ranked 84th. I say go with Jamal Emers. That would be a very fun fight. As for Peter Barrett, Peter Barrett 0-2 in the UFC. So I think his next fight should be in the regional circuit, where maybe a little bit of seasoning is in the regional circuit is what should be next for Peter Barrett. That will conclude it for this fight card. Now on to next week's fight card, which will be the last fight card for the year 2020. As next week it is Stephen Thompson against Jeff Neal, another possible changing of the guard type of fight cards. Thompson, the elder statesman, going against Jeff Neal. Neal is a really good fighter. Up and coming, you got Jose Aldo against Marlon Vera. Michael Pereira against Chaos Williams. Rob Font against Marlon Moraes. Marcin Tybura against Greg Hardy, another exciting fight. Anthony Pettis fighting Alex Morano. And then you got Diego Lima against Bilal Muhammad. This should be a very fun final fight card of 2020, and then we will go into what could be coming back in 2021, fans and other stuff as we mercifully end 2020. All right, you guys, please be safe out there. Have a good week. We'll be back tomorrow night to recap NFL Week 14. Good night, everybody.